Welcome back, everyone, to the Athlete's Mind podcast. Super excited for this episode. A lot of you guys have been asking for more footy episodes, and what a way to start these. This man doesn't need much of an introduction. Lewis Jetta, he was my idol growing up, my favourite player for the Eagles, so super grateful for you taking the time today, and really looking forward to it. So how are you? You know, what have you been up to kind of post-AFL career?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for inviting me here. So I think this is my second podcast now, so slowly getting into it. But other than footy, I've just been raising my two children. They're bloody teenagers now, so a bit taller than me, a bit more smarter. But I still got them in basketball and a little bit of footy as well. But I've had into the medical transport, just something different. Tried a bit of gas work, bit of water work. But yeah, just trying a little bit of everything at the moment. Yeah, cool.
And are you involved in, I don't know, the Eagles or anything at the moment, or just in the workforce?
No, just more the workforce now. Tried. I wasn't too sure if to get back in too early or too soon into the footy part of it, which was good because I stayed away for 2-3 years, just have a bit of a break. And now slowly getting to watch some more games. And then hopefully, fingers crossed down in the future, maybe get a gig somewhere. But that's not really right at the moment. It's just more enjoying what I'm doing at the moment and just living, basically.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously raising your kids. Like, is it a bit weird, like seeing how quick they've kind of grown up, and from a dad's perspective?
Yeah, definitely. From a dad's perspective, Junior's still been in the same team that he was in Auskick, and it's still the same players, same coaches. So it's pretty cool to see. And now Daisy's started playing netball, but now she's having a go at footy, which is she has the long strides, which I've seen those strides before. On a footy field. But she's doing all right. She's enjoying footy, which is good. And Junior's just slowly developing at the moment. He still has that, not cocky, but confidence.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, just trying to teach him the difference between that. So, but at the moment, he's doing well.
Yeah, nice. Well, we'll go into a bit of your backstory and growing up. Now, I know you grew up in Bunbury, obviously much more isolated than Perth, and obviously when you moved to Sydney, when you played for the Swans. What was that environment like growing up there, and did you kind of start playing footy from very early on, or was it a bit later?
Yeah, down in Bunbury, it was a lot of it was just straight from footy straight into basketball. So love basketball, T-ball as well, and a bit of indoor beach volleyball and skating.
Oh, cool.
Rollerblades. So sorry, skate fans. They might hate me for it.
Yeah.
But I'm a blades man. It was just footy in the winter, and then we'd play our finals for footy and straight into round one in basketball in the summer. So do the double whammy on a Saturday, and that was basically it. And T-ball just whenever we had spare time during the weekdays. And volleyball was just a bit of fun, have a bit of fun around with the family. But footy from probably 5 or 6 years old, down at Kelly Park, denim shorts, Guernsey, no shoes. So I still remember that first game.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you played a bit of basketball, was there a particular point growing up that you kind of realised, like, okay, I should actually be able to take footy somewhere or even basketball somewhere, or was it kind of just going with the flow, seeing what happens?
Yeah, it was basically going with the flow with the basketball. Not too bad of it. Made it to the state 12s and 14s. And nice. Versus China, and they was really tall, and then I realised I was the centre, but I was the shortest on the team, which means I could jump and stuff. So I found out pretty quickly I was just too short for basketball, and I had a lot of speed, and then footy just stuck with footy, and it led me to AFL pretty much. Yeah,
well, we'll talk a little bit about your draft. So you actually did miss out on the draft when you were 18, and you were picked up later as a 20-year-old. Did missing out on the draft, I guess, make you fall out of love with the sport in any point? Because I know I've interviewed a few people on here and they talk about missing out on the draft. I'm just curious to know from your experience, what was that like missing out? Was it a bit like, maybe I should take a bit of a break, or was it just, I'm just going to keep playing and keep going?
Yeah, it was actually quite funny. I think we watched Lewis Jetta get drafted, and the Nick Nat and Michael Walters, all that era go through.
Yeah.
And we all played Swan District's Colts together. So it was actually quite funny seeing all those boys go, and then me and a couple of boys from Bunbury still didn't get picked. So we just shoved out and still was stuck with Swan Districts and playing Colts, but also playing league down in Bunbury. And then 2008, that's when, went back down to Bridgetown. Was playing down there just to get roughed up, and because Bridgetown, Lower South West, is pretty dirty. As where the South West League is more cleaner and the skills and a little bit better. So when I decided to move up to Perth pretty much, and me and my older brother Graham, who was a 2010 Swan District's premiership player, until he knocked himself out in the last quarter. We moved to Bassadine, and it was the best thing we ever did. And it only took me 1 year living up there, and next thing you know, I'm living in Sydney.
Yeah,
one of the biggest cities in Australia.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I did want to ask you about that. So you were drafted to Sydney in 2009, as you just mentioned. First of all, what was the reaction like of actually getting drafted? Fulfilling a childhood dream. I'm in the AFL now.
It's actually quite funny because I still have in primary school start of the month, and 3 questions are: what do you want to do when you grow up? Team you enjoy watching. And the place you'd most like to visit, and it was Sydney playing AFL and West Coast.
Oh, wow.
And all those things just literally happened in line. It spun me out. I still got the papers at home. I was like, what the hell? And that was in year 5, start of the month. So
that's awesome.
It's still crazy. It still spins me out to this day. But I sort of had a bit of practice moving from Bunbury to Perth, as we all know. We all get homesick and stuff. And, moving to Perth gave me a little bit of, practice. But once I got over there, I had no idea. I didn't have my license at the time. I was riding my mountain bike and just cruising along Sydney and all that, going to training, going back. So it was a good eye-opener, so much faster. But to me, it was one of the best things I ever did. It was so good. It was amazing.
And how about settling into the actual team? Were there any players in particular that helped that kind of transition to, the biggest city in Australia, and I guess kind of helped you in the club initially?
Yeah, it was, for start, I got chucked into a house with Shane Mumford, Campbell Heath and Byron Sumner. And if you know Mummy, he's a big boy, and the rest of the 3 of us, we try to wrestle him a few times and make us tap out. Me and Campbell Heath was just FIFA all the time, and me and Byron would just go down to the beach and chill there. So we had a good balance with all the boys in our house. But once I moved out over there, I got to know Kieran Jack, Heath Grundy, Nick Smith and Reece Shaw. And then, became really close mates with those boys. And Goodsy was just there all the time, just like a big brother. But, wanted to expand outside of the Indigenous boys and make some brothers over there while I can. And to this day now, I still catch up with Kieran Jack over here. And when I can get over there, try to catch up with the boys as well.
Yeah, well, you just mentioned Adam Goods. I did want to ask you about him. You being a young Indigenous player at the time and him being an older Indigenous player, how much was his influence on you?
Not for the first 2 days. He wasn't at pre-season. I was still a young kid coming in, and he was just still on a holiday mode. So, but once he got there, he just showed me the media side, the professional side, on and off the field, how to handle yourself in hard situations and just learn to be independent, and pretty much did that the whole time I was there, which was amazing. It was good to have someone there to teach me that. Otherwise, it would just be, just freeballing it, just working it out for myself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a great moment in your career that I wanted to bring up was an Indigenous war dance you did in support for Goodsy, which was in 2015 against the Eagles. Yes. Now, at the time, I was very young. I remember actually watching it live on TV, and I didn't really understand what was going on at the time, but I do remember thinking it was really cool. And now, understanding a bit of the backstory now that I'm older, I think it's even cooler, So for those who might not understand, what was actually the meaning behind you doing that dance?
Just representing the young boys that we did it for. Back in 2013, we played against Carlton at SCG, and me and Goodsy before the game said we met the Flying Boomerangs that represented, it's a bunch of young Indigenous boys all over Australia, make one team for Australia, then go travel overseas and represent us. So they showed us their war dance, and me and Goodsy said, if we kick a goal, we'll try to do your dance. And lucky Goodsy kicked it. I was on the bench. I wanted to do it, but I think I missed a couple points, which is pretty normal with the 19 in a row. But he did it, and people just took it the wrong way altogether. Before we was attacking the crowd, we were just representing all those young kids. That represented Australia for us overseas.
Yeah, well, I guess going on to that, there's been a lot of racism in the AFL. Even now, it's absolutely shocking to see. In your opinion, what do you think non-Indigenous people can do to kind of stomp out this racism in footy?
It's a tough one because it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And wherever you are in the world, racism is everywhere, and it's hard to stomp. So it's just still calling it out. You can educate people to some extent, but you're not going to change the way they still think because they're probably raised different. So it's going to be a tough one, but you just got to keep calling it out when you can. and just remind others that you're human that you're talking about. It's not just, someone else and a tree or a plant or something like that. You're actually talking to a human, and they still have feelings and all that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Well, circling back to footy, you won the premiership early on in 2012. A massive year for you. I believe you're actually the leading goal kicker for Sydney that year, which is like pretty crazy because I think you played wing most of that year.
Yeah,
and a little bit forward.
Wing, bloody all Australian Muppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cut me short, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, describe the feeling of winning it that year and also so early on into your career.
Yeah, well, I was still just getting into the side, let alone the play. I think the slingshot was involved around me I wasn't even realising it.
Yeah,
So going up to wing, kick to space, I run onto it, and whoever's with me, I have a hand pass or draw a player. So didn't realise it at the time, and now I look back, I'm like, oh, well, we invented the slingshot over there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. But Sydney was always known for the inside grunt and crash bash stoppages until me, Gary Rowan, because they already had Daniel Hannabury and Kieran Jack on outside run, but they needed a bit of pace, and that's where me and Gary Rowan came in.
Yeah. Well, a massive moment that I wanted to bring up is the run in the granny, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Surioli chasing you, you've run the whole field. Probably, one of the most iconic moments in your career. I'm curious to know what was actually going through your head as you're running, because I imagine the adrenaline is through the roof, the whole crowd cheering, a crucial moment of the game. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it after the interview over there. I knew one of us was going to have that opportunity of chasing each other, and lucky for me, I just happened to be in the right moment at the right time, getting that amazing hand pass off big Reggie boy, Heath Grundy. So, and I knew, for some reason, I had a feeling I have him covered for distance. And if I change my angles and maybe get a block from Goodsy, but I think he just put his hands out and wanted to see it as well. And yeah, by then I just kept going. I kept running and looking behind. I'm thinking, oh yeah, he's still a metre or two away from me. I just keep this pace. Don't need to do anything else. And yeah, finally kicked it.
Yeah, man, it was just such a great moment, especially the commentary on it. Jetta wins the gold medal. I think it's just awesome. I love watching it. It's so good. Now, you guys lost the premiership in 2014, and 2015 is when you made the move to West Coast.
Yep.
Was there any thought into kind of like sticking at Sydney for a little longer, or were you pretty certain like, hey, I'm going to go to West Coast, or were there maybe other club options like Freo or anything like that?
Yeah, it was, back when we got traded over here, it was just a blur. It happened so quickly. Just remember talking to my manager, and next thing you know, I'm in West Coast doing pre-season, and it was just a blur. And when I was sitting in the grandstand watching Bulldogs and Sydney playing at 16, I was like, maybe I should have stayed for one more year. But it was just, I still remember to this day, it's just a blur. Like, there's no real, we had talks, and boom, I'm in West Coast. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, that was quick.
Yeah, but was it a bit strange, kind of like coming back to Perth after being in Sydney for a while? Or?
No, because I always try to get back over to Perth and down south to Bunbury, and just see all the family and all that stuff. So it never was weird. It was just weird playing against West Coast and then being on the same team, and then kicking the goal in the same spot where I did the dance for Sydney. And not be able to do and just celebrate with the crowd. So that was probably the only weird part and different part about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you got the number 23 for West Coast. Was there a bit of MJ, I'm guessing, behind that?
I was actually surprised because I think Simon Tunbridge had 32 and they asked about it. I said, no, I'm not doing that. He's got that number. He chose it first. He was here first. And I was just surprised 23 was there. Cause, I think Glassy retired a year before. So I was like, yep, no worries.
Take that.
I'm taking 23. And it was obviously Jordan, because I'm a big Jordan fan. Yep. Sorry, LeBron fans.
I'm MJ all the way as well. So, well, also for West Coast, you kind of transitioned to that halfback role, and I'm curious to know, like, what was that sort of like? You're obviously very versatile throughout your whole career, but going from that forward for Sydney and even wing, what was that like, and what were the discussions with West Coast actually moving to the halfback?
Yeah, it was quite tough because they wanted me to play the wing role. But it's totally different to the West Coast, the Sydney role, is where they give you the freedom to run, help out with the midfield, go help the defence out, then rip forward. So it was just more freedom with Sydney, as where West Coast was just more, you had to play that role, stick to that one side, which was pretty difficult at the start. And then I got, sort of got used to it, started playing a couple games, and then we just tried half back. And I think Joondalup, we played Fremantle in a practice match. and I don't know who, I think they kicked 4 on me.
Oh,
and I was like, well, maybe I'm heading back to the wing here. But stuck at it, trained with the boys in the back line. And then, things just started flowing, started getting easier, started understanding the way the boys play in the back. And next thing you know, in the side, playing half back.
Were there any players in particular in the back line that kind of helped you? I know you were pretty close with Scully as well. Like, what was that sort of like, your relationship?
Yeah, it was good because we just played FIFA.
Yeah.
So when Sam Butler was there as well, we used to have FIFA comps and our defence would win our FIFA games. So and then we tried to transfer that onto the fields where we're just talking to each other, helping each other out. But Scully was a big one. Sammy Butts, early days. Who else? Shannon Hearn, he was good.
Yeah,
he helped me out a lot just with the decision making and kicking, and making the right decision at the right time. So probably. And then Govern, TB and Big E, Eric McKenzie, them boys are just all beasts. So they
it was an amazing back line.
Yeah, I just had to be on the bottom of them and stop my play, and that was it.
Well, in your opinion, talking about that 2018 year, what set you guys up for success that year? You know, it was such a great year of footy and obviously winning the grand final. But early on, like, did you guys kind of know, like, oh, we could be on here?
All right, these boys are not going to like this, but I'll say it. All the old boys left. Got rid of Pritter, Sam Mitchell, Uncle Drew Peach. Nah, I'm just joking. Once them boys went out, we was sort of in two minds. We wasn't too sure how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And then I think when we got to St Kilda game around 10, we won most of our games, and we were like, oh, we got a good chance here.
Yeah.
We're doing all right. We're playing good footy. And then, we just kept sticking at it, and before you knew it, we was in the final home game. I think 1 or 2 on the ladder. So
it was very, very good season for sure.
Yeah, crazy still.
Yeah,
thinking about it from where we was before, just getting there now. Get rid of a couple amazing players, and then
it's
opens up. Yeah,
it's sometimes interesting seeing how teams can click with each other. You know, sometimes you can have a stacked team, but they might not gel well. So I find it very interesting. But it's just a funny moment I wanted to bring up is you actually late for the qualifying final, I believe, against Collingwood.
Yeah.
And I know I heard this story on Backchat. Just talk to us a little bit about that for those that don't know, like what actually happened.
Qualified against Collingwood. I was playing Call of Duty still, and I was right towards the end. And like I said on Scully's podcast, it takes too long to get to that last section to try and get that last kill.
Yeah,
and I just didn't even realise the time. I was like, oh man, I got a game over here. And then I figured the traffic, because I only live just around the corner across the river. North, and I'm thinking it's right there. I can literally jog there or ride my bike. So we jumped in the car with the family. I blame my family for it, my little family, but I was definitely playing COD.
Yeah, no, I mean, I obviously find that a little bit like, oh wow, like how can you forget a final? But also, like if you kind of do a bit of a deep dive with that, you know, you seem like you were very like easygoing, and you know your mentality towards footy was you were very calm a lot of the time. Do you think that was part of the reason why you were able to show up in big moments? Yeah,
well, I did a lot of in Sydney. We did a lot of meditation. So a lot of yoga. So as soon as I came over here, I was still doing it, and just because I'm still so laid back, relaxed, look at everything positive. It was actually quite easy. I just went in, put my bag down, got strapped. What he was doing.
Yeah.
And then Scully's like, "Where was you?" I was playing COD. He's like, "You mother effer."
It's pretty funny. Now, the score. Well, now there's another big moment in your career in that qualifying final. The score was 68-70, 5 minutes to go, and you have kicked an amazing goal, very clutch. You know, talk to me that feeling of what it was like kicking that clutch goal. It was such a big moment. I imagine you dreamed of things like that from a young age. But actually being in that moment, what was that like? Yeah,
to be honest, it's ridiculous. It was so good because I have 4 brothers and we all played footy and we all played grand finals down there, but my oldest brother was the only one that's been in that moment and kicked a goal to put us in front.
Yeah.
And just to do it on a big stage, man, because I let my player go forward and just let him creep down into our forward line, and I'll just hold off in case they do a quick kick or something, and I'm in a good spot. And I just pressed, and at the time we was a pressing team, putting more pressure on the defence, and I just happened to get there pretty quickly.
And the Ronaldo celebration was a nice touch.
As soon as I seen it bounce and it just went straight up, like I already turned and took off running to celebrate.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll got us over the line. But it was still enough time for them to get another centre bounce and kick another goal. So yeah, after that, I was still nervous. Lucky for JD taking another good mark. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, you guys went on to beat Melbourne in the prelim and obviously making the 2018 grand final.
Yep.
I guess what was the key differences making that grand final compared to 2012? You know, you were much younger in 2012. Now you're kind of like, you know, in your prime years. Like, what was the differences, I guess?
oh, it's two different styles altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sydney was, we had the grunt there with the Drew Boltons, Ryan O'Keefe's, and then over here was just, we had our team there, but it was a more running, attacking side, more of a, I think they called it a web back in the day, so
Yeah.
the spider web. So more defensive setup roles. Where over there, we just attack the game, contest, tackles, get it out forward. I think Ryan O'Keefe had 19 tackles or something like that back over
Jeez.
in our grand final, so he was a beast. But also we had Goodsia's class as well, so
Yeah.
it was, we had a pretty amazing team over there. Boys that been in the finals and played against for, you know, some of the best mids with the Cousins, Judd and Penderbury and Swan and all those boys. So coming into 18, we had the young boys there, and it was just they was in the team, but they sort of wasn't from 2017, and then they had to step up, and things just started clicking. And we knew we can beat Collingwood if we just play the game all the way. And I think Simo said it in one of these meetings, or some vision, that it might take us to like 5 minutes to win the game, and it literally took us 2 minutes and something. So yeah, we knew we can beat them if we just play 4 quarters. But at the time, Collingwood, it was still scary. They had amazing players playing for them.
Yeah, for sure. And actually talking on the day of the grand final, I'm curious to know what was the energy like with the team, like, you know, approaching a game, a grand final, you know, do you kind of try and treat it like a normal game? Is the nervous energy there? Like, what do you do as a club to try and get rid of that nervous energy and make sure you're ready to walk out?
Well, I can only speak about myself as a nervous energy, because I didn't really get nervous. It was after the games that I got nervous.
Yeah, right.
Just went into there and just like, it's only a footy game. No matter if it's in front of 100,000 fans, it's just a footy game. Win, lose or draw, it matters, but it doesn't really matter, because there's more worse things in the world that's happening. So to me, it was like just another footy game, but would love to win this one.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, on the that whole week leading up, it was just, I was just trying to make sure the younger boys that haven't played it or been in that situation, because at the time this was my third one, so just trying to make sure they enjoy the moment, and the game will just look after itself when we get there. So because we've already done all the prep leading into it, and then just making sure those boys enjoy it.
Yeah, it really does become a lot of a mindset thing once you're there. Now, a point early in that game, things started to look a little dangerous. I know me as a supporter, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree, you know, getting a little bit like nervous, like, oh, geez, like Collingwood looking really dangerous here.
5 goals.
Yeah. You know, how did you as a team kind of like remain composed in a situation like that?
Well, I'll take it back to the meditation. I introduced it while I was doing it. One of the coaches, I think Hickmott asked me about it, and what's all this thing, and then Mark Nikoski got involved, and before you know it, the full team was doing meditation.
Yeah, wow.
And they kept us in a calm state. And if you think back to Phil Jackson, he loved all his meditation, keeping players real calm under heat pressure. And then you think of Bryant and Jordan, they was just so composed and calm. And if you were to see, we wasn't panicking, we were just patting each other on the back. Don't worry about it, we'll get the next one. And lucky for JK and Willie kicking 2 goals, that we rather have that instead of being down 5 goals.
Yeah.
But we wasn't panic stations. We were like, no, we got this.
Yeah, well, just speaking a little bit about meditation, it's quite interesting because I think nearly every sporting team in the world does that now.
Yeah.
Like back when you said you kind of, you know, did it at Sydney and then at West Coast, kind of introducing it, like, was it kind of like a bit of an unknown thing for a lot of clubs back then, or was it?
Yeah, I think, there wasn't a lot of teams when I was in Sydney that was doing it.
Yeah.
And it just showed when Sydney was under pressure, the boys was just so relaxed, calm, and played their role, for bringing everything to a simple little thing and just focus on that. That's where, and when we got to West Coast, that started to triple in, and then we just started doing it more and more, and then next thing you know, we're just calm and win a grand final, and then with 5 goals down in the first quarter. So.
Yeah, wow. So it's I find it very interesting because it is a very big part of sport now, I think, for athletes with meditation and remaining calm. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Now, talking about obviously winning the game, Sheed from the boundary, what was your perspective of that? And, explain your emotions once he's...
Yeah, I was caught in no man's land in the back line on my check. Yeah. And I just remember watching Schofield take off through the guts. I'm like, I'm on his player. And then Gov had to come around on DeGoey. I'm like, oh, yeah, boys, if they get it, he might outbody me here.
Yeah, geez.
And, once they started going, I think Trelaw kicked on his left and got it forward. And I'm thinking, Gov, please come over, please come over. And next thing you know, his big kneecap was right here, marked it. I was like, yes. And then the rest is history. They just went forward. I'm like, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, geez. It's interesting because obviously everyone's looking at that one thing, but you're not really paying attention to what's going on.
And that's what I hit Gov. I'm like, yeah, thank you. You got to thank me for taking your player, man. He's a big boy to wrestle.
Monster. Oh, 100%. We would not want to be in that role, yeah. Well, what was actually going through your mind when the final siren went? I imagine you just feel on top of the world.
Yeah, well, I dropped down to my knees crying, was emotion, but also my calves was just in so much pain.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, because I think the second, my right one popped on, oh no, that's not good. Yeah. And then my left one in the third, I'm like, oh, well, might as well just tape it up and Panadol. But the Panadol wore off and I was like, well, I've just got to keep running here. The worst part was I couldn't jog. I would either walk or sprint, the muscle that I did. So it was so frustrating because I watched DeGoey in the third quarter kick 2 goals. I'm like, just trying to chase him behind, but I couldn't get him because of my cars. But yeah, after that siren went, man, I just dropped down. I got up. I'm like, everyone's hugging each other. So I just ran straight towards the backline boys. Yeah, gave them a big cuddle and seen Lecker, JK because they been in the system for so long. Hearn as well. They tried to get one so many times, but just a bit of bad luck. And Liam and Willie. Yeah, just saw those boys there. It was pretty amazing, to be honest.
And when you did actually tear both of your calves, just going back for a second, obviously you went off to the bench, and what was kind of the management saying? Were they like, oh, geez, we might have to take you off here, or were you pretty adamant?
I looked straight at poor Tucker, who was a head physio. Tuck's calves are gone again. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, they're gone again. Just let Simon know. And he goes, yep, all right, I get on the phone and then, switch rotations down from 1 to 2. Yeah. And the rest of the boys had to stay out a little bit longer, which, I felt selfish. So I said, just tape it up and I'll do 1 and let the boys that's fresh can come off for a rest and I'll just stay out there and try cruise around.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, wow. Obviously, you would have wanted to get back out there, grand final and everything, but you were in quite a bit of pain. So
I figured the mids needed a good rest because they was just overworking, working hard. So, and us backline, we sort of just, we can zone off and chill and put ourselves into really smart positions to defend and also offense as well. So I figured I'll just do that, still stick with the 1 rotation, just give the rest to the mids so they can actually keep working and stay fresh.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about after the grand final. Obviously, you're celebrating, you're really happy, but more going into 2019, I guess. What was the conversations around the club? Were you guys pretty confident that hey, we want to go again here, and pretty confident to get that next win?
Yeah, well, I explained to some of the boys that when we did that preseason, but winning 2, because you miss that feeling of winning 1 and you want to bottle it up and keep it there. And then when you do it again, it's the best feeling again, and you just want to keep going. Yeah. So I explained to a couple of boys, let's try to get another one here. And we still had the same team. So lucky some other teams worked out our style and got onto our game style, and so we had to adjust a little bit. And things didn't work our way.
I mean, you see that happen a lot, the premiership team, and at the end of that year, every other team is analysing their game style, trying to find them out, and it's very hard to kind of change that when that's obviously worked so well, and then all of a sudden all these other teams are, finding out your style. So
that's why credit goes to Brisbane when they won their first 3.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and Hawthorn doing it as well, and Richmond back to back, and Geelong. So it's amazing. It's hard to do, but. And it's credit to them for the teams that actually did it.
Being able to adapt, it's a big thing. Now, you finished up with the Eagles in 2020. Now, that must have been quite a strange year with COVID, I can imagine.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was, man. It was weird because when society was allowed to go out, we were still trapped in the house.
Yeah.
And we was only allowed to go to training and straight back. Family members wasn't allowed to visit. We wasn't allowed to go anywhere, order food online. So it was a strange one because everyone's walking around with masks and we're like, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
But we realised WA had a different rule to over there, the eastern states. So we had to be locked up for a little bit. But I didn't mind. I had my PlayStation, had my Xbox.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm guessing you and a lot of the boys would have played quite a bit.
Oh man, I think we had a death match on Call of Duty, and 18 players were on there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and just a lot of shit talking.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
it makes you closer as a group.
Yeah,
right? Those sort of things.
Yeah, a lot of boys didn't know to handle the scopes and were like, just use a handgun and try help out.
Was that like some of the older players?
Yeah, there was a couple of older players as well. So. I mean, I know me and Schofield, we got a bit frustrated. Jacko Nielsen as well.
Yeah.
We just played it all the time. So
yeah, no, fair enough. Well, I just wanted to bring up something that I think is quite important, and it's a little bit about something that's very important on this podcast, especially is mental health, and it's something that I think is very, it's not really spoken about enough with, especially athletes, because athletes can't really, relate to people can't really relate to athletes and what they're going through a lot of the time. So, have you struggled with mental health, and what has kind of helped you manage that? Yeah,
I spoke about it on Scoey's because I'm happy to, and for me talking about it will help someone else that's really struggling who's been in my shoes as an athlete. Back when it started in Sydney, and then it trickled into West Coast, and I didn't stay on top of it. And as guys, we don't really show our emotions. We don't really talk to people. We don't want to. We just hide and try to be tough and stuff. But deep down, it's just building. That flame is building. And I literally grabbed an extension cord and went across the road and went to do it. But I stopped myself. My willpower was almost gone, but I stopped myself, pulled the thing off, walked back home, put it in the garage, and then laid down, went to sleep. Woke up next morning, what the hell did I almost just do? But it's just the willpower, and then I started getting help as well, started talking to more boys, got in front of the group and told them why I've been missing 4 days. But it wasn't no party or nothing. I just was in a real dark hole that I couldn't get out of for a little while. So once I started talking to more people, opening up, things just started smoothing out, and the light literally just opened up. But unfortunately for some athletes, they found it really hard to get out of that hole, and unfortunately, they're gone.
Yeah, it's very, very tragic. You see so many athletes that they're not even athletes, just especially with guys like you said, we like to mask our emotions a lot, and talking about it can be very hard. Talking more about the actual club, like being at West Coast, being at Sydney, like, was that a very big thing, like kind of opening up to the boys? And you said you got up in front of the boys, and I think that's awesome, them seeing you talk about things like that. How big was that when you played, talking about your mental health?
It was huge, because I don't know if some boys might have been struggling at the time, but I felt it was a weight off my shoulders, and by me talking, maybe Bay had it, I can go do it as well. If he's struggling and he's playing in the back line, he just looks happy, because I was really good at having a face on, when we have that smiling on face and we just look happy. Behind closed doors, we're crying, listening to sad music for no reason on a Tuesday. I was just relieved. And once I did it, boys just come up, and I didn't want any praise. I said, no, I was just struggling. I'm just really in a really bad spot here. And if I don't talk to you boys, I'm going to be gone. So it was, thank goodness I did. And now I can happily talk about it, because I beat that. That's behind me. I conquered it, and if I can do it, anyone can. But obviously I know some people won't have the support that I have, which makes it even more tougher for them.
Yeah, I do really appreciate you sharing that. Just talking about the AFL, actually, how important do you think it is for the AFL to introduce a mental health round? It's been spoken about quite a bit recently, and what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think they do a good job, because they already have the places in there. It's just up to the players to actually reach out. Because they have so many avenues there. The players has got to be strong enough and take a deep breath and acknowledge that, I am struggling here. I need to go talk to someone and just It could be as simple as just, sending a message. Say, hey, bro, you want to come and have a chat?
Yeah.
Not feeling well. It's as simple as that. But, like I was saying before, boys and men, we don't do that. We just hide it away and put a smiling face on.
And I guess it's interesting from your sort of perspective, something that I'm quite interested in knowing about is the transition from being an AFL player and then, going into the workforce, or, what's beyond footy and how that can play on mental health. How did you find that transition? What did you find, like, no issue, or was it did it take you a bit to like realize, like, hey, like, I'm not a footy, like an AFL player anymore, like life's very different?
It was actually kind of strange, because I planned to have a year off, but I only ended up having six months off. I was so bored at home. I was like, texted my little brother and said, you got any work? Just something to do.
Yeah,
that's right. I got into the water corp and mucked around there, had a bit of fun, enjoyed it. But also it was just, I achieved my dreams and goals so young. And then once I finished, I was like, well, where to now? So now I'm still trying to find out that. Obviously my son's playing good footy at the moment and trying to guide him and teach him in different ways instead of just ramming my experience down his throat and helping him. So I just got to let him learn himself. But at the moment it's just, trying medical, see how that goes, if it works out. If that doesn't, try a different thing. Because I'm only 36, I'm still quite young. So I've got my whole life ahead of me.
Yeah.
So something different. Who knows, might become a fire brigade.
Yeah.
But I know, them boys are all pretty muscly.
That's all right.
I'm all skin and bones.
Well, what about going on to, future avenues like you just mentioned? Is helping out maybe at the Eagles or anything? Like, is that kind of on your mind? And
I have thought about that. But I'm just still not ready to get into that pathway. Happy to go watch some games and help out and here and there, and a bit of advice here and there, and help the guys and the girls out that's playing now. I still get down to Swan Districts and watch the boys play there. So no, it's just not so real serious into it, but it's just enough just being around it.
Yeah, cool. And just kind of easing your way in, seeing what happens. Yeah. Well, that wraps up the episode. Thank you so much, Jetta, for coming on.
Too easy.
Really appreciate it. Everyone listening, this will be on our main platform, YouTube, and also all podcast platforms, including Spotify. Follow us on the socials so you don't miss any updates, and we'll catch you in the next episode of The Athlete's Mind. Thank you.